Hey everyone, welcome to AFTERBUZZ. We've got another episode of Braindead for you, episode 106. Stay with us.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, welcome to our next episode of AFTERBUZZ's Braindead here at AFTERBUZZ TV. A weird one. We ended last episode with such an odd feeling. And it started out fun in an interesting way because we left in a dark place, but a good episode to get through. So we're excited that you are with us tonight. I am Kevin Ellis. You can find me on Twitter at @TheKevinEllis or on Instagram at KevinEllis25. Ladies.
You can find me, Courtney Henderson, on Instagram and Twitter at Cohen, Couhen.
And you can always find me, Lacretia Lyon, at LACRETIALYON, anywhere on the internet since there is only one.
What did we determine that this song was also in? Because this was the song that our Laurel was singing and serenading to Gareth this episode.
It's Jerry O'Connell in Scream 2, and since that's my favorite Scream, because Timothy Olyphant is the killer, spoiler alert, guys.
Which I have not seen, but it's okay, I won't.
Don't worry.
But yeah, what an episode. We got episode 106. Here's the title again. Notes toward a post-Reagan theory of party alliance, tribalist, and loyalty past a prologue. So that's what we've got for you this week. So we left off last episode with a very odd, somber feeling. We weren't really sure where our protagonist was going to end up because we saw a bug crawl into her ear right at the end, and we're left with the sinking feeling that she is going to be infected. And in fact, she was, which was a great twist. What did you think about just the simple fact that they went there?
Yeah, I love, because they always open up the episodes with a fun song really, surmising the last episode. But yeah, they're like, yeah, you didn't know we were going to go there. The main character never gets sick. And so yeah, it was a surprise. And it was really interesting to see how they dealt with that. Very interesting.
Definitely. I was worried that they were going to go with the cookie cutter approach that every television show does, is they tease something that really didn't happen. Like you had theorized, it was you actually that theorized that they were going to bring the bacon out right away. You said that last week, that they were going to bring the bacon out, right away, get her to just get the bugs out. But the fact that they actually had them start eating at her brain was a nice little twist. I thought that it was cool that they went that approach. Yet it brought about some questions because throughout the past couple of episodes, we've seen the bugs go at the brains really quickly. That wasn't the case this time around. What did you think about that?
Well, before we get into that, I do want to say I was a little disappointed that it was all resolved in one episode. I kept waiting for later in the episode, because she says they're out, but I'm like, is that just the bugs talking?
Mm-hmm.
Are they, all episode I was kind of waiting to see that she was actually infected, like some sign of that, just a little longer,
Sure.
that she was still aware of things, but that didn't happen. And so I am a little, it's like, it was resolved so quickly, it's like it doesn't even feel like they really went there. Now, with that, we got a lot of great stuff because of it.
This is true.
My favorite scene of the show so far. So I can't complain, and I do appreciate that it wasn't just a teaser, that they did actually go there and actually say, she's infected and she's actually infected. And I did like that we kind of get to see how they think, okay, well, maybe we can take this approach with other people that have already been infected. Later in the episode.
Right.
That's kind of like, did we find a cure? Possibly. Which is a very interesting cure. I don't know if that's where you want to start.
Yeah, we can go about that. So Laurel, she calls 911 right away. She's frantic. We know that Gustav is on his way from how we ended last episode, but we're not really sure if he's going to make it in time.
She doesn't know that, right?
No. She doesn't know that. We know that as viewers. Yeah. That simply he's on his way. So we know that there's once at least the dispatcher who is infected denies her any kind of service, if you will. Gustav does show up, and he begins helping her out in whatever way possible. Rochelle shows up out of nowhere.
I think Gustav probably told her.
Yeah, I mean, I have to assume.
So
I have to assume that
it bothered me that she didn't call Gustav first. it just.
I
Why would
was
she
waiting
call
for that.
911?
I was waiting
That
for
was
that
the
as
thing.
well.
I was just kind of like, I don't. Or when they said, okay, it's gonna be 40 minutes. Stay on the line. She puts the phone down.
Mm-hmm.
That they're like, don't hang up. I thought that she was gonna hang up and call Gustav. Like, screw you guys. Like, you're not gonna do anything.
I thought it was
because I'm thinking, well, you were literally in the back of an ambulance and you saw somebody's head explode. Like, they couldn't do anything for the person.
Right.
And every single time you've tried to talk to doctors about it, other than Michelle, who's got a very personal investment, being that her dad was the first, it's like, why would you call them first?
Yeah, to me, it kind of showed that Laurel was either too panicked or it was kind of affecting her, because normally she's way more rational and thinks through that process of, one would assume that these people or 911 operators are probably infected. I mean, as you see how it spread. So when the operator said it was going to be a while and just was so nonchalant, that would have been my first clue of, I need to hang up. This person's clearly infected and it's totally cool with me having bugs in my brain.
Right. It was, I totally agree with it. It was bizarre. It did not seem like her character would take that approach and make that decision. We're left with what it is. Gustav does show up, Rochelle shows up, and they start figuring out a means. And rather quickly, they figure out that there is a right side of the brain, left side of the brain, that this dichotomy that creates some kind of havoc and might force them out of her brain. What did you think about that?
I actually thought that was super smart.
I did too.
Because the idea of these bugs is they go in through the left ear and then they attack the left side of the brain, because that's your logical side. And then that should be, the first place they can control people. But it's so interesting to see that the right side of the brain is actually the key to stopping this, whether it's dancing around and singing or having sex.
Music, alcohol, just anything to get you to stop thinking.
Yeah.
So,
Thinking is bad, guys.
Thinking is bad, at least in this world that we're living in this show.
There's bugs in your left ear. But it was also interesting because it seemed like she knew there was only one bug, perhaps.
She felt one crawling around.
So she's like, it moved. And so I think it's one of those where it wasn't a lot of bugs, because every other person that's been truly infected you've seen several make it in, whereas in her case they didn't get that far.
But we did see several bugs crawl out from underneath her bedroom door when she was no longer infected.
Yeah.
That was confusing to me, because I'm with you. I believe from what we saw from the end of last episode, we just saw one bug crawl in there. But several, it was peculiar. So
but you saw several climbing up. But only one got actually in her ear.
Yeah, but where did those other bugs come from her bedroom? I mean, they weren't going after Gareth.
No, but they were in her bedroom. That's what I'm saying. Like, you saw several climb up and get on the bed, but only one actually got in her ear.
Right.
So all those bugs were in the room. Like, we're still in her room. You know what I mean? But why they would be running away so frantically was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they weren't looking for a new host, and either Gustav or Rochelle.
I think they didn't have the element of surprise. Like, they couldn't just. although with Stacy, I guess she didn't have the element of surprise. I mean, in the sense of she got locked in a bathroom and a bunch of bugs. Yeah, so she was trapped, but it wasn't like she was incoherent when it happened. So
truth.
So that's interesting.
You have to accept it for what it is, I suppose. Yeah. But Gareth shows up at just the right moment in time.
And we were discussing this when we watched it, how he calls and Gustav answers the phone. That in and of itself has got to be a weird thing for Gareth.
And especially because it sounded like sex noises in the bathroom, the way she was carrying on. And I was like...
he clearly heard it as panic or pain, or like... because he's like, what's wrong? Like, obviously, if a dude's answering Laurel's phone in the middle of sex, he's not going to be saying what's wrong. True. Like, if that's how he heard it. So, but yeah, I will say it did sound like it could have been the other. But had he heard that, I don't think he would have come over. So it had to be that she was in trouble.
Has Gareth met Gustav previously? I know that he has met Anthony.
I don't think so.
Gustav has met Anthony, but I can't remember if Gustav met with Gareth.
I don't think so. I think that maybe he has seen him.
Okay. So,
But I don't think they've been introduced or
Yeah,
anything.
the
Because I think
familiarity of
Laurel's
that.
kept this pretty separate from Gareth.
okay. So as we said, comes in at the perfect time. And what was interesting is that sex being the solution, though Laurel even figured it out herself, which was interesting because I mean,
Yes.
they figured it out at both at separate times, and Laurel immediately is down and prepared.
I think that's why
for
she
making
took
the sacrifice.
She said something, and I wish I would have written it down. But she said something that was sort of like, "Gotta get the bugs out," and she takes those last like big swigs, knowing that she's going to go pounce on Gareth. Now these like she knew what she was doing.
Definitely.
But I mean, it's one of those where she had to.
They made it
like-
such a cute interaction too.
I know.
mean, it can be
Yeah.
it can be its own like risque encounter, if you will. But this was cool. They actually added that element with the her serenading him prior to, and it's got to be such a weird. What's going
what
through
would
Garrett's
you do?
mind? at
I
this-
mean, how would you feel? It's a girl you like. Obviously, at this point,
Okay.
it's somebody that you want to have sex with.
sure.
There's two other people there.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
weirds
the part
me out.
that I was like, everything else seems so, okay, she's drunk, she's singing, but then the fact is, there's two other people in the room, and then, like, it's clear that that's what everybody is wanting to happen, and it's a little creepy.
The second that
Yeah.
they start serenading him
And,
from behind,
and shutting the doors. That was the weirdest for me.
I'm starting to question where this night is going at that point in time.
Yeah, and it's funny because, they say those Republicans, they're really the dirty ones, and Garrett, I don't know how he felt in that moment, but he went for it, and it's like, did you think they were going to join in? Like, what was going to go on there? They're there.
See, I didn't get that sense at all. I didn't think that when they came around and they were singing the song too, I didn't get any like sexual vibes yet. It wasn't until she kind of like grabbed him over the shoulders and kissed him that I think he really thought sex was on the table.
This is that
I mean,
definitely possible.
And they had kind of removed themselves. When I say they, I mean Rochelle and Gustav removed themselves from the bedroom, and but for me it was when they started shutting the doors. That was the part that kind of got me, and I was like, how would you feel? Like, I would, kind of like he said later, but I'm like, I would feel played. Like,
it
they
is
let you
very
come
confusing.
in, and they're dancing, and she starts singing, and now she's in your arms, and she's clearly hammered.
If I'm Gareth, I am so confused. I'm coming on in thinking that the girl that I like is possibly sleeping with another guy. Now she's got her friend in on the situation. That's not happening at all. But I go into the bedroom, she's now intoxicated. I see the handle of liquor present. So I'm wondering, okay, what's going on? Then she starts singing a song, I Think I Love You. I don't know if we're at that stage yet at this point in
that
time
was
for
a very
that song.
awkward song, yeah.
For that song to be the song that they're serenading
See,
me
I
with.
almost wonder if that's partially the bugs. You know what I mean? Like,
Be it as it may, I'm Gareth and confused as hell.
right, so why does he end up going through with it? That's the part that I can't wrap my brain around.
well, because you're a lady.
Here's the thing,
Is
if
this
I
You
explanation
heard it here
possible?
first, folks. I'm going to need to get, like, a gif of that.
yeah, because
GIF
really.
of that. Because you're a lady. I need that.
Well, there you have
It's like,
it. You'll have
if
it by
I'm
the end
in
of the
Garrett's shoes, it's like, okay.
But I just, because I still think he is a good guy.
Oh, definitely,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? And obviously that, I don't know, just it's one of those, it's so weird. And then for me, which I loved, she's obviously eating chocolate and salami in bed. And if you
amazing.
follow Aaron, who plays Gareth on Twitter, it looks like he live tweeted the East Coast feed because he's on the East Coast, and he had a lot of hashtag salami sex on
did he
his
know?
tweets.
That's what
like,
she said.
on a lot of them. But I just loved it when he's like weirded out because she's like taking bites of chocolate on this side, and I never even saw her have salami, like the whole
salami.
stick. What are they even called?
Yeah, we'll say it's
Say
a
it's
salami
a-
stick.
Yeah, so but like I saw they put it on her ears, but I didn't see her like eating it. But it makes sense because you think she's trying to get it inside so the bugs want to get out.
She's trying to get the salami inside. Sorry, guys, I couldn't help it. It's just right there.
I'm
But
gonna
he
have
just
my
takes the
own
biggest
mature moment
bite. He
myself.
just takes the biggest bite.
That he does. He nibbles on the salami stick himself, which did not see that coming as well.
Well, I mean, there was another
He was
guy
like
there,
into
so-
it in a weird way.
Okay, can we talk about the fact that Gustav had already sliced the salami previously, and now she has a whole salami
That's
that she
what
is
I'm
not eating?
saying. Yeah.
That's what I'm also confused
She's
about
just
too.
really into Italian meats.
And has them present.
Yeah.
Lots of
But no bacon.
And I love...
and no bacon.
I guess we'll veer off here for a minute because Christina's journey is like, why didn't Gara sing? And we all know Aaron is most known for
There
being
you
on
go.
Broadway, and apparently Rochelle was as well. You know, this needed to be a more,
This
number.
needed to be a musical moment.
So we can get off the dirty stuff.
I
call,
think
Christina.
that's probably at a later date.
At a later date,
You
we
can't
have...
do like a musical episode in a show until like season 3.
Okay, maybe when
I feel
he
like it's
proposes
typically-
to her.
Maybe. Or they'll go karaokeing as a date. But I mean, like
That'd
a
be cute.
full-on musical episode, you don't do that in season 1.
So she chocolate and salami are incorporated into this whole experience.
Do you guys remember, is there something about chocolate? Is that one of the things?
I think it's just unhealthy
Health?
food because
Yeah.
you see everybody's eating like kale and beets and carrot, and I
okay,
think
that
that's
makes
the
sense.
thing.
Because Gustav specifically said bacon. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, well, okay, he picked salami because that was present in her house, and it's also like a bad for you meat kind of a thing. And so I that's where I thought that came from. So the chocolate, I was just like, that's weird. But I guess anything unhealthy. Although there's a lot of stuff worse for you than
just so
chocolate.
weird.
The
There's a
whole thing
lot
was
of
weird.
I know, and I'm like,
But
I'm
I
trying not
guess
to say too
the
more.
food part is the least weird part of the entire circumstance.
Oh, this is true.
Like, because then he's like, can I at least move my arm? Like, no, it's like, I feel like he was totally just used. Like, he was totally just sort of like her little
Oh yeah, she
doll.
passes out right after, on a comfy bed, mind you.
I know.
Because, people, Casper is a sleep brand that created one perfect mattress sold directly to customers, eliminating commission-driven inflated prices. So all of Casper mattresses are made locally in the United States. Its award-winning sleep surface was developed in-house, has a sleek design, and is delivered in a small, how do they do that, sized box. In addition to the mattress, Casper also offers an adaptive pillow and soft, breathable sheets. Those are all great. The mattress industry has forced consumers into paying notoriously high markups, and Casper is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing that savings directly to the consumer.
What?
An in-house team of engineers spent thousands of hours developing the Casper, and it combines springy latex and supportive memory foams for a sleep surface that's got just the right sink and just the right bounce. Plus, its breathable design sleeps cool to help you regulate your temperature through the night, which I do have problems with at times.
You
Wake
don't
up
have
in
a
the middle of the
Casper,
night.
do you?
I don't have a Casper. And mattresses can
saying.
often cost well over $1,500, but Casper mattresses cost $500 for a twin mattress, $600 for an XL if you need that size, $750 for a full, $850 for a queen, $950 for a king. I think I spent like $1,100 of my sleep number, something like that. Yeah, so this is
should've
pretty
done
good,
that.
fair prices. So buying a Casper mattress is completely risk-free. Casper offers free delivery, free returns with 100-night home trial in the US and Canada. If you don't love it, they'll pick it up and refund everything to you. Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially considering you're going to spend a third of your life on it, which is true. Casper understands the importance of truly sleeping on a mattress before you commit, especially considering you're going to spend a third. I'm reading the same line. They did that to me. And Time Magazine named it one of the best inventions of 2015. In fact, now the most awarded mattress of the decade.
How do
Gotta give them
I
that.
get one?
That's good credit. So, well,
Like, for real.
you can get a $50 credit toward any mattress purchase by visiting www.casper.com/AfterBuzz and use the AfterBuzz code for your promo mattress. So, the promo code AfterBuzz for a Casper mattress, I gotta say, they're pretty reasonable prices. So,
I'm
Look into
actually
it.
in the market, so
Yeah.
I'll have to.
Yeah, and use the promo
Use
code, guys.
that.
Hey, that's what you get for watching the show. You get that little perk.
Yeah, and chocolate and salami goes
Chocolate
great with
and
the
salami.
Casper mattress there.
That is,
Yeah.
do it part of the
yeah.
100-day free trial, though, just in case it gets a
Yeah.
little messy. Just
Oh,
in case.
come on, you guys.
Hey, all right, so.
That's a pretty cool feature, too, though.
Yeah, back to Braindead. So Laurel calls Stacy. This is just a quick interlude so that we know that this happens later on in the episode, but she invites her out to a drink. So we know that comes about later in the episode.
And she doesn't want to go.
And she doesn't want to go.
Until Laurel says, "No, I've got a scoop for you. It's a story I want to pass to a friend."
Yep.
So because I'm thinking, like, Laurel, you know she doesn't drink. Why would you even ask her to go get a drink?
I'm with you.
Yeah,
You know
she
what I
should have
mean?
said juice.
But then,
She has these moments. Laurel, she's so smart, and yet she has these weird flighty
I mean, I know
moments,
she
like-
really wants to take her to get a drink because she's trying to get the bugs out. So she's going to try to get her to drink alcohol. But she gets her with the scoop.
She does. And so if we want to fast forward to that, do we want to? Oh, we'll get to that later. Gustav and Rochelle,
Yeah.
they start observing the sample of the bug that Gustav jumped on with a cup. And they're analyzing it. They even take a limb off, and that limb starts moving on its own.
Really crazy.
It is, because this is something that's, I mean, it's obviously alien in nature, as this episode really goes into, which is cool.
Right. But they never say it.
They never say it, but
like,
it's
outright.
always alluding to it along the way.
Yeah.
And so they bring on in Dexter from the CDC again, and Gustav trusts Dexter, so they give him the sample. What did you think about trusting him with this type of thing? That's not, I mean, that's a big move for Gustav. I would think it's just a simple character, because he's a guy who likes doing everything on his own. And for him to actually entrust a guy with this type of thing, and it backfires completely.
You know, he and Dexter had that awesome little bromance moment when they first met. It was just like, kindred spirits, kismet.
I think Gustav he trusts Rochelle, he trusts Laurel, so once he sees the value or need for you in this process and knows that you're really on, I don't want to say his side, but his side. I mean, as far as you want to figure out the truth about the bugs, you're in. And I think that he also recognizes the limitations and the advantage, like the limitations that they have with what Rochelle has access to, because that's why he took it to her. He didn't have even a CAT scan machine or, things. So Rochelle gets involved. Well, now it's escalated. They need even more equipment that does even fancier stuff.
Right.
Those are my official medical terms. Fancier stuff.
And as I said, it backfires because that sample is now in the hands of the CDC, because fast forward, funding is cut because Red learns somehow. We'll get to this.
Red is on my
learns
nerves this episode.
about Dr. Wu's research, I have no idea, but they get around to the fact that his sample gets thrown into the dungeon of other
Just
CDC
to storage.
memorabilia.
Yeah.
So.
And what I found was so interesting, so the CDC is a government entity, so they had to expect that in a way, but in a matter of, it's in Atlanta. It's not in Washington, D.C., and that was my only question of the timeline, and I was like, how did he get there that fast with this top secret little thing? And I'm like, I guess I'll fudge a little bit and just go with it. But yeah, the fact that no one really seemed to know that he was studying the bugs. So who's the leak?
Well, he only had it. He didn't
yeah.
even have it for very long.
No.
So
Right.
I think the bug told.
The bug
Yeah.
I do.
actually communicated. Now
Yeah.
That
is
actually is logical.
a good theory. It's a
I
good
mean,
theory.
and I didn't think that until, which it's skipping ahead, until from what I watched tonight, those bugs like straight up talk to Laurel via Stacy's body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ants do
Straight up.
communicate with one another, so
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
a good, way of using
So-
ants and actually knowing a lot about the entomology of them. So
So I think that because literally, who else would have known?
Truly.
I mean, I think that that's the only
That was the one thing I was thinking
Which
about.
sounds
Whose house?
crazy that the only logical explanation is that the bug told.
But we're
Space
getting
bugs
around
speak
to
to
it.
one another. Yeah.
We are getting around to this, and that's what's cool about this episode is we're learning more about the anatomy of these things that we never knew about before. So it's answering some questions that we never knew about. So Laurel comes on over to see Gareth the morning after. She finally is talked into it by both Gustav and Rochelle. She goes on over to Red's office, and Red brings her on in.
Intercepts her.
What did you think about the fact that Red knew so much about her and the threat that she poses? Because I thought that it was very random. Again, these bugs might be communicating to one another, and that is exactly why he is aware that she is more of a nuisance than previously thought. Otherwise, I don't understand why her simple unpredictability and simply being involved with Gareth would want him to threaten her. That doesn't seem like something that, up to this point, has been a reasonable assumption.
Yeah, because to me, her bleeding heart has always been there, and he didn't see her as a threat until she was able to figure out how to get the bugs out of her ear. And yeah, this comes back to possibly that they are communicating and know these things, because there's no other way he would have known. And it doesn't make any sense why he would assume she's a threat now.
I would agree.
I feel like she always was the bleeding heart, and I feel like she always has been, therefore unpredictable. He knows she's from LA. Like, I think part of it, I think he knows what he knows because he's in politics. Her family is a very big political family. He didn't say anything specific, did he? Everything, I mean, bleeding heart, everybody knows that her and Gareth have something going on. I mean, so
just this fact that she is unpredictable, and that's
So I mean, I don't think that the bugs. I think that could be an easy observation that could be made.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's something that had to come from some deep, dark communication or secret conspiracy. I think it's just the nature of what he does. It's easy to see that.
So she sees the districts on his coffee table that are divided up into sections that are for the purposes of gerrymandering.
Which, I did write this down for those of you in case you don't know what gerrymandering is. Gerrymandering is the manipulating of boundaries in an electoral constituency to favor a specific party.
Exactly. So it's
a big deal. It's pretty self-explanatory in context of the show, but just in case, wanted people to know what
little
that
poli-sci background.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was really interesting. Again, we see Gareth gives her the information, but it didn't come from him, if anybody asks. And it's very obvious, but later, two interesting things I thought. The fact that Luke called them constellations right after we see Rochelle with the whole music and the sounds of the spheres or space, whatever. Right. And that they work more in that way. So I think they probably were more of a constellation than like a crop dusting type situation. Just because of knowing space bugs, constellations are more space related than crop dusting. I don't know a lot about crop dusting, so maybe there is a more space connection that I'm not aware of.
As someone who's seen every episode of The X-Files 100 times and sometimes watches Ancient Aliens
Which
as well.
100% accurate science.
Well, sure. But yeah, so crop circles, it has been theorized that they are constellations.
Oh, okay.
In some circles believe that. Some crop circles believe that. Pun intended.
Well... Okay, so, but I thought that was interesting that Luke pointed that out.
Yes.
And was sort of helping or hinting. I don't know. I guess I kind of am wondering if that was a little bit of a foreshadow. That they'll eventually figure out that it has to do with something in the constellations. But what was really interesting was that they were in favor of the Democrats.
My only thought about the whole crop circle intro or just the segue is the simple fact that why at any point in time our congressional district voting areas going to play any sort of role in how at least the alien beings are going to be able to... They can't see them physically. It's not like aliens from outer space can see where congressional districts lie, let alone any kind of person who's infected on the planet. Nobody knows. Even like a layman is not going to know where certain congressional district boundary lines are. Like, no regular person knows that or sees a map of such a thing. Rarely is it even shown in any kind of political science books. So
but it's coming from Red's office.
I get it, but what purpose does it serve?
Yeah, to me, there is no logic to this part. It was interesting to tie it in,
right,
and to kind of pull it with Rochelle's, thing. But yeah, as far as actually doing any good for their purpose, it doesn't make any sense yet. We don't know.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm not seeing the end game here.
The only connection I saw with that is Luke is the one that points out that the gerrymandering is actually helping his party, which is interesting if it's coming through Red's office. The other thing that was interesting was Ella and Red, for the first time, are actually kind of working together. They're not at odds, because she proposes them adding all this funding basically to get the CDC shut down, because she knows no one's ever going to go for that, and it's going to lock it to keep them from being able to open the CDC back up, which is what Red already wants.
Yes, I guess her motivation was slightly different, though, in that he did try and bait her into realizing that she does not agree with animal testing, and so she fell for his little ploy there in trying to get them all to see that animal testing was cruel, unusual punishment for them,
right? And
so she wants to now shut it down. So I guess you're right. I wouldn't say that they're working together. It's more like she's seeing the logic.
But I'm saying you're starting to see a blurring of lines. In that sense.
I guess I'm just not seeing what purpose these crop circle congressional districts serve.
Yeah, to me,
they're voting areas. Really, it's not even a congressional district, because it's
they're not district. It's just voting boundaries.
Yeah, and even in it's only for the House, and we don't know the timeline of exactly when it is, so voting at this point is probably moot. I mean, is it even close to November, or whenever, these elections would possibly be held? So it's like, what would be the point? But I feel like it's them, as we see, they're coming together, and they're both on opposite sides of insanity, but the less and less brain power they have, the more they're just pretty much the same. It's, again, 2016.
Yeah.
But I think part of it, kind of, again, bringing Stacy into it, where the bugs tell Laurel, like, they want everything. You know what I mean? So I think this is just another thing that they're controlling, because it's towards a bigger end game.
Right.
So
we will find out. I hope the answer is there, because I thought that it was a really random.
I will promise you, with the Kings, there's nothing random about it.
Salami and chocolate was pretty.
Yeah,
funny. They're unhealthy things.
That was the best part of the episode, or just the whole show in general.
Well, what do you think about Laurel's character decision to not tell Gareth about the fact that she was infected with the bugs when they were walking around the Washington Monument?
Yeah, to me, it's just like the fact that she continued to hide it until, luckily, the last bit of the episode. It's frustrating, because it's like, this guy would probably believe you. He's eating everything out of the palm of your hand. So it sounds crazy at first, but if you're like, no, that's who these people are, that's why we're all together, he would have been like, all right.
Yeah, I think part of that was she was so embarrassed and already felt like she looked crazy enough with what did actually happen, that taking it to the next level, it's kind of a big step. And he's also working for, quote unquote, the opposition, the enemy. And Luke specifically said, like, the only thing that you can't talk about is the bugs. So I would like to think that there was just kind of a little bit of all of it in there, as to why she's kind of like, I want this guy to like me. I think I've already exposed him to enough insanity, kind of like, for now, I need to make sure he's kind of still on the hook before we, like, go there. And so, with the note and the whole, like, which I loved the whole little scene where he's like, look, I just want to, like, take you out and get to pay and then feel weird about, do I call or do I not? And my friends tell me not to, but I'm gonna anyway, like that whole little thing that he's clearly thought about in his head a million times, and because he likes her, like all of that was just like this, I just like you, which is what I like about his character and just him in general. He's just kind of that, at least from what we've seen, just kind of like that good guy. Yeah, exactly. Vintage. I like that. Vintage good guy. Yeah, which is hard to come by, and I think that's part of the appeal for Laurel. There's not guys like that in LA. Yeah, there's one guy like that in LA.
Oh, please. Or DC for that matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because she was in LA, so she's not meeting guys like him. When she's at home.
Oh, we won't go into LA.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Laurel and Stacy. It got weird really quickly because Laurel, she tries to help out her friend, which sometimes we forget about Stacy and the fact that
she just jumped off.
Well, I feel like there's a part of me that wishes that we had more of a natural interaction between the two of them at the beginning of this series that showed that they were really good friends than while they ran into one another more than anything at the function. And it's like, we haven't seen you in a long time, and suddenly they're, I guess, back to being really good friends. I wish that, I don't know. I guess it was the fact that, I guess there was more setup there. That's all.
You wish there was? All right.
Because I don't feel an emotional attachment to Stacy.
I don't think you're supposed to.
I want one.
She just jumped off the balcony.
Yeah. I mean, it got, it's just the feeling of, it's not as satisfying, just the fact that her character is in such a dark place at this point in time. Anyway, so we get to the point where she grabs onto Laurel's hand after Laurel shows that she had brought a former lover to the bar. Which,
we'll say boyfriend.
Can we talk about the fact that he's just kind of over there with a drink, waving at the club just by himself? Yeah. Bizarre. That doesn't happen in real life. Sorry.
It was very much like a middle school dance or something.
Yeah, that's what I felt. It felt a little amateurish, but she's clearly showing, as you pointed out earlier, that possibly something more than just her brain is calling the shots.
I don't think her brain, I mean, she doesn't have a brain anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he does this and is like, you hear nothing in there. I loved that. I was like, that was super dark. And just the way that she did it, she's like, yeah, there is no Stacy left.
Yeah.
It was just one side of her brain, truly, that was missing. The other one is still functioning, but it's, it was the left.
It was the left that she knocked on.
Indeed. But
I think that kind of showed that she's too far gone. Mm-hmm. That the cure for Laurel isn't really a cure.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I see. I say that to preface, what worked for Laurel is not going to happen with those who are truly...
Laurel had a bug in her ear for a matter of seconds.
Yeah, it had not eaten her entire...
Right. And from the sounds of it, I really do think it was just the one, is what it seems like, versus all... I mean, you saw how many bugs crawled up into that bathroom to Stacy.
Yeah.
So, but I think, that was a really dark, unexpected turn. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting because for me it was kind of like, okay, so did you know all along that she was kind of like trying to bait you into becoming you again? Mm-hmm. And if these bugs can then also interact to some level like the person that they've overtaken, because they ate the brain so they know. But, the whole thing was just kind of bizarre.
It was, yeah.
But
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think that, at this point with Stacy and Red and all these people where we obviously see that their brain is gone, it doesn't regenerate. So there is no cure for them. And that's the sad part, is you have to get it before, because these people are doomed. I mean, they're doomed to just jump off the balcony like our other friend, or just something like that. I mean, and that's what you see, is there is no hope for Stacy.
True.
Yeah.
Well, we ended with a very interesting thing that happened, in that Laurel did finally entrust with Gareth the fact that she believes in these bugs. And that's all we get.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we get. But a lot of cool things to look forward to, especially that interaction and what comes of it. Now that Gareth is full on board, as we hope, because he didn't get up and leave the bar.
He
so
took a few drinks, though.
On.
Like, I think this girl's really crazy.
Yeah. But that does it for today. So do join us next week, episode 107. I am Kevin Ellis. You can find me on Twitter at @KevinEllis or on Instagram at KevinEllis25.
Courtney Henderson. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at COUHEN.
And I'm Lacretia Lyon, so you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
All right, you got 1 week to get a Casper mattress, some salami, and chocolate. Talk to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube. Let us know how that goes. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.